5 sentenced to death in Bangladesh for killing atheist blogger. In February of 2015, a renowned Bangladeshi-American blogger and published author, Avijit Roy, was gruesomely murdered in Dhaka at age 42. Roy was a notable advocate of the free thought movement in Bangladesh. Roy was a Bangladeshi-American citizen and a critic of religious extremism. He was publicly assaulted by machete-wielding assassins who butchered him to death as he and his wife were leaving a book fair. His wife, Rafida Ahmed, survived but suffered head injuries and lost a finger. A court in Dhaka sentenced 5 members of an Islamist group to death on Tuesday, February 16th, 2021, for killing Roy 6 years ago. According to the prosecutor, another one of the attackers was sentenced to life in prison. The defense attorney for the 6 men said that they will appeal the sentences in a higher court.
Okay, so this is one of those news that's going to basically test us, right? Because we're against capital punishment.
Yes.
And at the same time, Bangladesh we want justice for atheist bloggers being killed, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I'm going to stick to my principle here and saying I do not support this. He should have been sentenced to life in prison or something like this.
One of the attackers, the 6th one, was sentenced to life in prison. They can still appeal. Like, let's be clear, things may change. But yeah, I don't support the death penalty, although I do support this murder being taken very seriously. So just because I support them getting a harsh sentence doesn't mean I support like this form of penalty.
Right. I mean, I really appreciate the fact that Bangladesh. Yeah, you're right. Both could be true at the same time. I mean, you're right. Bangladesh taking this seriously is very, very refreshing. Okay. At the same time, it's a death sentence. Like, you know. Okay. So, by the way, for practical reasons, also, these people are going to turn into martyrs now. Yeah, I don't know. How do you feel?
If they actually get executed?
Yeah. I mean, even yeah, I mean, even if they don't get, even if they don't get executed, just sentencing people to death is like I'm against. Just the act of sentencing people to death is by itself horrible, in my opinion. Even if they did commit the worst.
Is that Avijit Roy's widow, Rafida, said that the verdict will never bring peace to her family. Simply prosecuting a few foot soldiers and ignoring the rise and roots of extremism does not mean justice for Avi's death, she stated. In 6 years, not one person investigating the case in Bangladesh reached out to me, though I am a direct witness and victim of the attack, she wrote in a Facebook post, which I embedded in this article. It's quite lengthy. There was... where was it? So basically, there were statements from various officials talking about how serious this was and how it is unacceptable that secularists would be targeted in Bangladesh, which is incredibly encouraging. However, I don't think it's good enough for people to be prosecuted after the fact. Like, you know, people who take up dangerous work need more active protection from the police. There's a lot that went into this. I mean, about the group that was involved, like who's actually the person who's most responsible for the murder versus just the people who carried it out. But you know, Avijit was an extremely notable author. He authored 10 books and founded the renowned Bengali language blog Moktu Mona, which means free mind. in which condemned extremism and highlighted humanist and rationalist ideas. And because of this, he was terrorized. Um, his subject matter was frequently contentious and covered topics such as homosexuality. One of his last books was called The Virus of Faith. And he argues that faith-based terrorism will wreak havoc on society in epidemic proportions. And this was very internationally well received. And he said that this is partly why he was targeted. So he said of a book he published before his death that it, quote, hit a cranial nerve of the Islamic fundamentalists and raised ire among militant Islamists and terrorists who began to target him. And so this led to people just openly posting death threats against him on Facebook, such as Avijit Roy lives in America, and so it is not possible to kill him right now. But he will be murdered when he gets back. And I just want to highlight, if I didn't make it clear, he was murdered in broad daylight. In broad daylight, leaving. Yeah, openly in the street, leaving a book fair.
Wow. You want to read what Ghost Bunny and Razam have to say?
Ghost Bunny is saying, I wonder if Bangladesh is trying to set an example with this and using it as a sort of fear tactic to lessen the chances of more killings of atheists. Well, data shows that doesn't work with the death penalty. I mean, they could be trying to do that. It's not like, if that is their intention, that's not likely to be efficacious.
Right. Yeah, that doesn't. We have data. These things don't work. Razam, you want to read
Razam is saying there probably there will be backlash of religious people.
Yeah. Peter, maybe, you're probably right. Peter, I don't know what Peter is getting at. Can you read this one? You read it
as
out
a
loud?
Victim of a drunk driver crippled for life by a hit and run and left for an hour legally dead. Oh, wow. I find forgiveness for such crimes to be active religious victim shaming. So I think you're arguing that there are people who are like, oh, you just need to forgive and forget, like, that they're shaming you religiously for
I do think
on to that. I think that's kind of separate from this, though.
Yeah. If anybody thinks that we not supporting the death sentence for this person means that we are like dismissing how big of a crime he committed and how unforgivable his actions are, I hope nobody thinks that. Okay.
Yeah, just because I don't support the death penalty doesn't mean that I demand forgiveness from the victims and his family.
Yeah,
that's totally sepaate. No,
and we're not dismissing how hard
penalized, just not with death, in my opinion.
Yes. Okay, Shu was saying it was. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is what you already said.
Yeah, it was during the book fair. His name sounds Hindu. What was his background? And Shubhadas is saying, well, that he was from a Hindu family. So yeah, a Hindu background.
Yeah. Okay, but he was so Hindu, ethnically Hindu, but he was an atheist.
Well, yeah.
Okay. All right. Oh, by the way, if any like family members or anybody like that ever endorses like the death penalty, it's completely understandable. You know what I mean? Like, I hope like nobody thinks like if we're against the death penalty, but the people who lost a loved one, not only they want the death penalty, they want that person to be tortured, burned alive or something like that. Yeah, we probably will think the same way if somebody did that to our loved ones, right? But there's a reason why laws and standards are not written or enforced by people who are the victims themselves, right? Like, you could completely excuse and understand someone's way of thinking and feeling when they are the victim. I would probably, when you're that under that level of emotional stress, I would probably also change my standards for that specific situation. But I'm glad that governments and institutions are making decisions based on what's best for an entire society rather than my individual preference for revenge, which shouldn't, that's not the best way of coming up with methods that make the society better as a whole, right? But go ahead.
Yeah, I think there's one thing I wanted to highlight. So this is from the statement given by his wife. And in it, she highlights basically that like the true leaders of this were allowed to continue their serial killings of secular writers for up to or like 8 months after Roy's killing. And then she says, Bangladesh's government has become more autocratic since we were attacked. Freedom of speech has been restricted further. Secular writers, bloggers, activists were forced to leave the country during and after 2015. A harsher Digital Security Act has been enacted. Bloggers, writers, publishers have been persecuted for their writings on a regular basis. Bangladesh's prime minister is increasingly friendly with Hifazat Islam, an Islamist group of madrasa teachers and students that demanded the quote-unquote heads of secular writers and bloggers in 2014. And then again, basically, simply prosecuting a few foot soldiers is not enough. It does not mean justice for Avi's death, nor the deaths of the bloggers, publishers, and homosexuals before and after him as part of the serial killing. That is why this verdict does not bring peace to my family or theirs.
Susie, do you mind interacting with some of the comments while I go take a pee break? Be right back, okay?
Oh, okay. Okay, let's see what y'all are talking about. And I wish Rivka was here because I think she may have a connection to his wife. Shubho Das is saying, it's sort of strange to see the Bangladeshi government taking these steps now, since only a few months ago, thousands of people rallied protesting against France. And then I have schoolmates there who supported the killing. Oh my. Yeah, I mean, in terms of this, since only a few months ago, thousands of people rallied protesting France. So you're talking about the massive boycotts that were going on after the murder of school teacher Samuel Paty for showing prophets of the cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad in class and then being beheaded in the streets of Paris for it. It's different. So obviously, like those are separate entities, right? Like I know in Bangladesh there was a rally of like 40,000 people who were rallying for this boycott of France. And I believe that there was an Islamist group who was involved in rallying favor for this boycott. I think maybe because this is an ongoing case, like that's why they're taking this now. I don't know. I mean, this is obviously, there's very political stuff going on that I'm not, I don't have the expertise on, because this can still be appealed. So we'll see what happens in the appeals. It'd be interesting to see if like attitudes or judgments change in any way. Or not judgments, but sentencing.
Hey guys, if you're a fan of blasphemy and sexy Kali, like me, then that means that you probably want more blasphemous art. Well, I have good news for you. If you subscribe to our newsletter, link in the description below, then you get a free booklet of some of the tastiest blasphemous art available today. So, if you want some of this delicious blasphemy, and we're so generous that we update it for you guys weekly for free, all you have to do is sign up for our newsletter below. You can also go to blasphemousart.com/ebook. That's blasphemousart.com/ebook. Sign up with your email, and you get free gifts of this tasty blasphemy. What could be better? So make sure you sign up. Link below.